If there's one thing we've learned about business and life, it's that people are the X factor. They constantly surprise us, both in amazing ways and not so much. We're Ben and Syya, and welcome to the Gnaw on This Business Bites podcast. This show is all about real life things we all deal with every day, how they relate to business, and how to make some sense out of our daily chaos. Welcome to the show. And welcome back to another episode of Gnaw on This Business Bites. I'm Ben and this is Syya. But before we get into this week's episode, let's watch this video.
What this organization desperately needs is change. Actually, what this organization really needs is repositioning. That means that what this organization really needs is a one-on-one approach.
We know exactly what we're thinking about. We know exactly what the context is. We understand. I'm Ben and this is Syya. But before we get into this week's episode, let's watch this video. Now, my question to you is, do you communicate effectively? Do you tell the story that you're trying to tell? Are you using language that you understand and your audience understands as well? That's the key. We all have 1,000 thoughts going through our mind at any given time. We know exactly what we're thinking about. We know exactly what the context is. We understand what we're trying to say. We understand hopefully who we're trying to say it to. But are we using language that the people on the other side, first of all, listen to? Second of all, understand? Does it resonate with them? Do they internalize it? Can they recall it? Can they retell it? Most of the time, the answer is no. So, Syya, let's gnaw on this.
Okay, so that video, I played it like 20 times laughing. I mean, I think when you watch it, you laugh for various reasons, right? And each time I watched it, I caught something new that still hit home, that still painfully resonates. And I think it's that laughter out of pain versus laughter as in, oh, that's so silly funny, right?
Well, the first time it's silly funny, and then afterwards you go, okay, yeah, okay, I get this. This is way too personal for me.
Well, because anyone that's been in a leadership position understands this video very painfully, because just when you think you're speaking clearly to the team, there's always one person that's going to take your instructions literally. There's always going to be someone that overthinks your statement and does some like Shakespearean analysis of your email when it was simply like, we just need this,
we need you to show up at 8:00.
Whatever. Yeah. I mean, it's like, oh man alive. Why do you think that is though? I mean, okay, looking at that, like the first one was like change.
I think here's the reality. Every single person out there, everybody who's listening to this, everybody's going to be on Team Live, everybody on Team Replay. We all have our own hopes, wants, needs, fears, and desires. We all come to every situation that we're in, and our context and our bias is based upon our past experience. What did we learn? What have we done? What did we like? What did we not like? Who have we been around? What lessons have we learned? What lessons haven't we learned? And we take things the way that we assume they should be. I mean, we all have this problem. Take conversations with your partners, conversation with your kids, conversation with your parents or with friends, and you assume that what you said should be easily understood, should be easily followed, should be complied with, because you're not being unreasonable, but the person on the other side of the fence sees you as being completely unreasonable. And it's not your intention, but it's how they hear something, not how you say something, but how it's heard and how it's internalized and what they're feeling at the time. Like, they could be going through a complete emotional breakdown. You say something that sounds benign, but to them, it's an assault on their system.
Oh, yeah.
And we need to be aware of this. Now, I'm not saying we need to walk on eggshells and we need to constantly be worried about everybody else's feelings so we can't say anything that isn't politically incorrect or whatever. I'm saying that we have to be aware of it. I'm saying that, you know what? Every once in a while, we're going to step on toes. We're not going to mean to do it. And the question is, what do you do next? But we need to understand that what we say is not always going to be interpreted the way we want it to be interpreted.
I mean, I've lived it. I live it every day, actually, right? I mean, working with my clients and working with my team, like this goes on multiple levels, right? Could be just from a, leadership as you manage a team or manage a business perspective. This could be as a client talking to their quote vendor, partner, collaborator, whatever you want to call it, making sure that their vision is articulated in a way that whoever is providing the service really truly understands what it is that you want, what business, problem that we're solving. And then there's the other aspect of it too, which is, as employees, I understand there has to be a certain amount of faith into the path of the team, whatever the direction that you want to go as a team, as a contributing member, but don't follow blindly. Perhaps there are opportunities where you say, could we be a little bit more effective, right? So, I mean, like, for example, like when he said, we need to change, right? And everyone starts throwing down change, or we need change or something like that, right?
Who keeps changing their pockets anymore?
Right. I mean, well, that's first off. But secondly, I'm okay with throwing in the change if that's what everyone else is doing. But at the same time going, but what is this change effective? What is this change that we're contributing solving? Can we as employees ask those questions, right? And the answer is yes, it should be. If your team doesn't have the ability to just get clarification, a little bit more detailing on the why, sometimes even on the how, right? Like, I remember when I was in sales, hey, you need to hit $100 million in revenue. And I'm like, but my pipeline is 40 million. How would you like me to arrive at that destiny, right?
What new tools are you going to give me? What new territory are you going to give me? What new products and sales are you going to give me to be able to do, or what new training are you going to give me in order to be able to achieve that miraculous goal of 2.5x of what I'm currently making?
Oh, look at you with the math, 2.5x. Does that
you know what?
Okay.
25 plus years in sales. It's amazing. I can calculate 5% on anything. Good old Canadian GST. So it's amazing the contextual things that are inside of our own heads.
True. I mean, so, okay. Here's the other thing too. The reason why I wanted to kind of get the broader perspective of not just from coming from a leader and being a better communicator, but what really tickled me was the one-on-one.
Yes, absolutely.
I was cracking up because they're literally sitting on each other's shoulders. And I'm just like, I get it's an exaggeration, but imagine just being the actors in this skit and having to be the person on the bottom. And being the person on the bottom. I mean, you've got someone's body on you, you know what I mean? Like question if something is legal, right? Now, granted, that's a skit. But if you think about it, there are times where maybe some of the things that you are comfortable with and something that you're not comfortable with. I'm not saying breaking the law, but it could be something where you're like, yeah, I'm not really on board with this. Do we have
Well,
the ability to express that in this day and age?
I think we need to all build cultures that allow for questioning, that allow us to sit there and say, hang on a second, are we actually moving forward? Or are we moving towards groupthink? And groupthink is a dangerous thing. Groupthink is an absolute dangerous thing. It says when everybody thinks the same, you stagnate. There is no ideation. There is no evolution. There is no change. There's no ability to be better when all of a sudden everybody is so terrified of leadership, of management, or of whoever it is that they're unwilling to question dictums that are put forward. And they literally take things literally. And when that happens and assumptions are made, that's when big costly mistakes happen. That's when $20 million mistakes, $50 million mistakes happen, even $50,000 mistakes, which could bury a small company because people take things literally. People don't take the time or the effort to question and say, wait a second, did you mean this or did you mean this? Well, that's a big difference. And one is the ability of doing it right and actually be profitable. And the other one is doing it wrong and sinking a company.
Mm. I mean, the cost of doing it wrong really can make or break a company. If you think about it, it was actually, who was, I think this is like anecdote, but it's like a lessons learned when you think of like companies that have become defunct,
Mm-hmm.
like Blockbuster, for example, right? Like,
Which we finally just lost the last Blockbuster.
oh, that one finally closed?
I think it finally closed. Somebody's got a fact check on me, but I think it finally did close. I know.
But I wonder, did it close because they're closing it, or is it closed because that person's retired? Because I think
I have absolutely no idea. I just heard the story. So somebody's got to fact check me on this. Somebody please in the chat. Somebody please fact check me. Somebody go look at this and see which way, if I'm right or wrong. Anyway, keep going.
Yeah, no, I mean, but again, it's like that one critical decision, right? And you know that they all fed into their own vacuum. And I think that's what you're talking about, right?
They all made the assumption that VHSs and CDs were going to live forever. And the way that people have always done things is the way they were always going to do it. People will always come and they will want to browse through the shelves, and people will, if they can't find this video, they'll find that video. It's not a big deal. So the internet will never be fast enough that we can actually do streaming, God forbid, and actually have things that aren't going to buffer on us. Don't be ridiculous. People are going to live by going to their cultural icon video store and pick up the movie on a Friday night or 3 movies for the weekend. That was the assumption of Blockbuster. And when they had the opportunity to buy Netflix for a pittance,
I know,
and they refused to do it, it buried the company. And there's hundreds, if not thousands, of examples of that, large and small, of companies that are so focused on what they do and they believe that they've got the magic bullet and nothing is ever going to change that they fade into oblivion within a period of time. And that's being afraid to change, and that's the inability to communicate, of be able to sit there and say, hey, wait a second there, I'm seeing this on the horizon, what about this? I've been looking at this different technology which is going to allow for this. How are we as a company evolving to be able to keep up with this, or to change with this, or to change our entire dynamic to be able to keep ourselves relevant? And companies that aren't constantly questioning that, going to trade shows, going to exhibitions, reading on the internet, going to lectures outside of their industry, and seeing who else is doing what, and then being able to articulate that new information in a positive and interesting way inside their organization, are doing themselves a disservice.
I mean, it's like when you start believing your own hype and thinking your lingo, because it happens. Like all relationships, you start developing your own language, right? Like
Yes.
as couples and or businesses, you got your own acronyms and all that stuff. So I could see where, again, with the communication, maybe at one point, and I know we're kind of picking on this one video, and I think it's funny, but
It is funny.
but you know what? It could be. Here's like, if we really want to get, overthink it, is maybe this was the language and that was what it was back in the day. Yeah, this is a video of exaggeration, but maybe that is what they wanted, right? And it's just completely outdated or just unacceptable, like it was asinine to begin with, right?
Well,
so, yeah.
Language is contextual. I mean, in England, a rubber means a completely different thing than it does in North America. To be able to do that. I mean, we need to understand that language, even within North America itself, what we call something in New Orleans may be different than what we say out in New York or LA or South Dakota.
Yeah.
How we use language is regional, and we need to understand regional context, and we need to understand regional nuance to be able to, explain what we're wanting to say. I mean, Eskimos have how many words for the word snow?
Oh, yeah.
They've got multiple words for the word snow, and it depends how granular the snow is, how cold it is,
how compact, how wet,
how it's
all
packed,
that
whatever
good stuff,
it is.
yeah.
But you don't just call it snow, it's this type of snow, and they have the way to be able to differentiate it because it's something that's part of their culture and part of their way of life. Where in most of North America, it's snow. We got snow on the ground. Oh, okay. Everybody knows what snow is. Well, what kind of snow is it? Is it, snow where I'm up? Is it's wet and soggy and heavy snow, or is it light, fluffy powder where you get sometimes back east? Words are important and words contextualize. And I think that was what the purpose of the video was to be able to get people to understand that words are not what you think they are in your mind. It's how they are understood by the audience in front of you.
Because it goes back to, it's about the audience. It's not about you.
It's always about the audience. So let's leave the audience there. And I think that's a great place to stop this Gnaw. I'm Ben.
And I'm Syya.
And we'll see you soon.
Hey. Thanks for listening to another episode of Gnaw on This, Business Bites. If you liked what you heard, we most humbly ask that you like, share, and hit that subscribe button. And if you want to communicate more effectively within your organization, contact Ben at yourbrandmarketing.com or me at brilliantbeammedia.com. We can help you build your community, brand awareness, and personality through digital content and podcasting. We cannot wait to hear from you. So see you next week for another episode of Gnaw on This, Business Bites.